Somewhere in the countryside outside of Paris, Robert greets his daughters and tells Sasha how happy he and Holly are that they are here. When Jason enters the cottage with them, Sasha informs him that Daisy requires a diaper change. Robert points her to the nursery they've put up for her. She tells Robert and Jason to be good while she's gone. Robert thanked Jason alone, and Jason offered to go. Robert says he'd love nothing more than for him to do so, but first he wants to thank you. He adds Jason stood up for Robin decades ago and is now standing up for Sasha and Daisy, for which he is glad. According to Jason, Michael respects Robert and trusts him to keep Sasha and Daisy safe. Sasha returns and Daisy is asleep in the nursery. Jason says he should get moving because he has a flight to catch. Sasha walks him out. Is this Sasha's final goodbye? Outside, Sasha says she realized when putting Daisy down that she is no longer terrified, and she believes she is doing the right thing by leaving Port Charles. Jason claims she is a terrific mother who can spend time with her parents and learn what it is like to have a family. Jason, on the other hand, assures her that she will always have a place to return to and someone to call if she requires assistance. Sasha bursts into sobs and fears she may lose her security blanket. She kisses him twice on the cheek, once for her and once for Daisy. Sasha returns to Robert, thanks him for everything, and expresses her joy at finally having someone to call her father. Daisy cries and she goes to help her. Carly provides Anna with answers at the PCPD. Anna welcomes Carly into her office and apologizes in advance for being a nosy grandmother, but inquires as to how much she knows about Joss' new lover. Carly would not refer to him as her boyfriend, and when did Joss' dating life become her business? Anna states that it concerns her granddaughter's future. Anna tells her that she saw Emma on a date with Vaughn and joined them for a drink to get a sense of the person. But then Joss appeared, made her claim on Vaughn, and they walked out to have a romantic reunion. Carly says her daughter has always been direct, and she hopes Emma is not unhappy. Anna doesn't think Emma was interested in the guy. The real goal was separating him from Joss. Carly says she doesn't monitor Joss' dating life and has no idea what's going on between them, but this is the first guy she's expressed interest in since Dex died. Anna believes Joss is looking for a different outlet in Vaughn. Joss was obsessed with proving Cyrus killed Dex for months. This is news to Carly. Carly says Cyrus is assumed dead, and she suspects Joss forgot about Cyrus while on her last-minute vacation to Easter Island. She describes how when Joss returned, it was as if a switch was switched for her. She dedicated to this physics coursework and obtained a job with Dalton. Anna wonders if that's when she started this relationship with Vaughn. Carly confirms and asks if she knows anything she isn't telling her. Anna says she doesn't. Carly says she doesn't mind if Vaughn takes Joss' mind off her sadness and helps her live her life. Carly thanks Anna for the heads up, but she recognizes Joss. Once she's made up her mind, no one can persuade her out of it, and she'll have to make her own errors just like her mother. Carly exits. Special agents Vaughn and Jax report for duty at the PC airport. Joss and Vaughn put on a show, pretending that he is about to depart town. They hug and Vaughn explains they have one chance to intercept the delivery. When the mysterious woman arrives, Joss takes up position. Vaughn is alone and texts someone. In a security office, Dante is checking the cameras when he notices Joss and Vaughn performing their performance. When he notices Vaughn alone texting, he wonders who he is texting and who he is waiting for. Back at the airport, Vaughn pretends to meet the mysterious woman and flirts with her. As he distracts her, Joss walks by and inserts a tracker into her bag. The woman leaves for her trip, and Joss and Vaughn check their phones to discover that the tracker is moving. Willow arrives into Crimson's office as Albrecht informs Nina that her daughter's life is falling apart without her. Willow wonders if she can join them, or if she is excluded from this conversation because her life is a shambles. Willow greets Aunt Liesel, and Nina maintains she didn't tell her anything. Albrecht has been keeping an eye on her family while traveling. She is aware of Willow's divorce and is dealing with how she lost custody of her children. How did she not get shared custody? Willow reveals to her aunt that Michael is not the man she recalls. She claims he has become vengeful and cruel. Albrecht recalls his being by her side when she had little chance of survival. Willow acknowledges he did. But Liesel and Drew saved her life and are her heroes. She realized Drew is friendly and supportive, and she likes being around him. They fell in love and Michael punished her for it. Albrecht suggests that it would have been prudent not to move in with Drew, while her husband was in Germany receiving life-saving treatment. Willow reveals that they were trying to provide a stable home for their children, and that Michael was also disloyal. The judge held her to a different standard, and as a result, Michael has 3 children while she has none. Nina informs her daughter that, alas, this is no longer the case. Nina says that Sasha chose to leave Port Charles with Daisy. Willow is relieved to find that Michael did not accompany her or her children. She wonders why Sasha departed. Nina claims there have been occurrences involving Daisy, and they believe Sunny's adversaries are using her to convey a message. Albrecht suggests calling a child ill, and Nina agrees. Nina says Sasha is unlikely to return anytime soon, and Michael respects her decision, no matter how difficult it is for him. Willow looks away, pours a glass, and smiles. Willow then takes up the wedding binder Maxie left behind, hoping to see Aunt Liesel again soon, and gives Nina a big embrace for being such a comfort to her over the last few weeks. Willow departs, and Albrecht informs Nina in a harsh voice, "There is something very wrong with your daughter." She points out Willow's smile of diabolical glee when she realized Sasha had left with Michael's baby, and that lady is not the same woman she knew before leaving. Willow's behavior and deeds, she claims, are completely unacceptable. Nina admits that it is Drew's influence over her, so Albrecht says they must cut the tie between them right away. What has Portia decided? Portia walks into Curtis' office at Aurora and tells him she slept at the hospital the night before. She informs Curtis that this must come to an end so that Drew can no longer control them. She is going to face the hospital board and admit to everything, and she knows they will take it to the state medical board. Even if she faces criminal charges, she cannot live another day under Drew's control. Curtis inquires as to what Drew has asked her to accomplish now. Portia explains that Drew wants her to falsify Michael's blood tests to make it appear like he is misusing opioids. Drew understands that this will cost Michael custody of his children, and it must end. Curtis begs her to consider what this will cost her. She doesn't care because she won't violate her oath and injure a patient. She fought too hard to reach where she is, and now she's reclaiming her authority. Drew Kane can go to hell. Curtis is concerned about her, as she discusses abandoning her beloved career. Portia claims it is her fault, and actions have repercussions. Curtis is concerned that Trina would blame herself for this, considering Portia broke the law for her and could face imprisonment. Is she willing to risk prison? Portia claims that regardless of her decision, someone will be injured. She'd rather die than break Trina's heart, but she'll be able to see her mother stand up for herself. Drew Kane does not get to win. The text reads, "Subscribe to Soap's General Hospital newsletter. Get breaking news alerts, daily recaps, exclusive interviews, and spoilers delivered straight to your inbox. https://cloud-emailed-soaps.com/sign up." In the show's final moments, Curtis tells Portia that she's extraordinary, and he agrees with her assessment. She senses a but approaching. He adds they need to be confident that these are the only actions to take, and she can't take it back. Portia is prepared to face the consequences. He believes she is about to walk away from everything she has worked for. Portia sees no other option, and there may be no other way out. Curtis wants her to ensure that this is her final step. At Crimson, Albrecht informs Nina that she realizes how tough it is to recognize one's child for who they truly are. The good, horrible, and ugly. That was true for both her and Britta, as Britta realized who her mother was. Nina reveals she's terrified of losing Willow every day, and no one despises Drew more than she does. She's attempted to persuade Willow to see reason. Albrecht thinks there is always a way, and Drew's walk-in closet must contain a skeleton. The man seduced his nephew's wife, so they must find a way to break Drew's grasp on Willow. Willow returns to the hospital and phones Michael. She says she heard Sasha and Daisy leave and she's sorry. She understands how hard it is to be away from your child, and she would never want that for him or any parent. Is there no way for him to compromise now that he knows how bad things are? Anna calls Dante from the PCPD. Dante claims all indicators lead to Vaughn being WSB, and he is certain a tracker was installed on the woman he was watching. Anna wonders if Vaughn was working alone. Anna interrupts Dante saying, "Jocelyn Jax." At the airport, Vaughn and Joss notice the woman is traveling to Paris, but is that her final destination? Jason is at the airport in Paris waiting for his flight. When the flight to Croatia is announced, a woman runs past him. She captures his eye, and we see a woman who looks exactly like Britt was by. At the next General Hospital, Jason requests to talk with the woman about the flight to Croatia. General Hospital spoilers for Thursday, July 17th, state that Rocco Falconeri will question Liesl Obrecht as Jason Morgan considers his romantic future. Jocelyn Jacks will also be compelled to respond quickly following some major announcements, so here's what spectators can expect. For starts, Professor Henry Hank Dalton will speak with Jocelyn and highlight some significant breakthroughs in the work they will be performing. Dalton may also mention an approaching meeting, leading Jocelyn to believe he is preparing to report to the messenger that Jack Brennan has asked her to find. Whatever the case, Jocelyn will receive some critical information on Thursday's GH episode, and must act immediately. This could be an opportunity for Jocelyn and Vaughn to advance their WSB goals significantly. Speaking of Vaughn, it appears like Anna Devane will disregard Felicia Scorpio's advice to end her probe. Instead, Anna may dig her heels in and seek Felicia's assistance to prove that Vaughn is harboring some serious secrets. Anna may discover evidence that Vaughn works for the WSB if she is correct in her assessment. This could raise doubts regarding Vaughn's relationship with Jocelyn, as well as what she is up to. Sonny Corinthos will complain about the media's campaign against him. Curtis Ashford has already written a hit piece, and Nina Reeves is willing to defame Sonny because Tracy Quartermaine is pressing her to. On Thursday's episode, Sonny will be pressed to make a sacrifice. Will there be pressure to allow Marco Rios go, or to leave town for his family's safety? Regardless, Sonny always believes he knows best and may insist on doing things his own way. Nina will face penalties soon. Nina may not be able to keep her steamy encounters with Drew Kane a secret for much longer, given that Curtis is planning to use them against him. Next, Lulu Spencer and Dante Falconeri will have some heated moments, and they may quarrel over him being too easy on Brooklyn Quartermaine. Lulu may advise Dante to take a tough stance against Brooklyn if he wants to form a bond with Giovanni Gio Palmieri, who is furious with BLQ more than ever. Dante and Lulu may fight over how to handle Rocco's latest problems, but they will be unaware that he is seeing Liesl at a cafe. Rocco will get down with Liesl to discuss his rocky start in life, and the influence Britt Westbourne played. While Rocco asks some questions, Sasha Gilmore Corbin will do the same on the plane with Jason. Because Jason spends the most of his days advocating for others, Sasha will believe he has to prioritize himself as well. Thanks to Sasha, Jason will have the opportunity to contemplate his actual ambitions and what he truly wants out of life. Although Jason has been unmarried for a long time, Sasha may be optimistic about his romantic future. According to General Hospital teasers, Kelly Thibault's impending return could pave the way for Jason's next romantic chapter, especially if she plays the genuine Brit. Liesl Obrecht stood motionless beside the window of General Hospital, her piercing gaze fixed on Willow from a distance. There was something unique about her. Obrecht was not the kind to overthink emotions, but the shiver she felt in Willow's presence was not easily disregarded. She'd known the young woman for years and had even warmed up to her when Nina's relationship with her became public. Today, however, she did not feel softness. There was discomfort. Willow's smile was completely wrong, too flawless, too poised. Her voice was tinged with slight bitterness while remaining polite, and her eyes were the worst part. Her eyes were vacant, as if someone else was operating the vehicle of her soul. Obrecht's eyes furrowed as she approached. She asked the customary inquiries, such as how Willow was feeling and how the children were doing. Willow answered kindly, touching Obrecht's arm tenderly. But the contact caused Liesl's skin to crawl. She remembered the legends her mother used to tell her in Switzerland about ghosts who wore human flesh as a mask, and how one could only distinguish them by their hands being too cold, their eyes too calm, or their sentences too perfect. Obrecht ignored the thought, but it came back louder every time she saw Willow float down the hospital corridor like a porcelain doll. Meanwhile, across town, Jason Morgan was at the airport, disappearing into the crowd. He wasn't here on a Corinthos mission or because of the stories of Sonny's death that had begun to circulate throughout the underground. He was here because he was following a feeling or a lead provided by an unknown source. A familiar face was preparing to leave Port Charles, someone Jason assumed was gone for good. His intuition hadn't been wrong yet. He scanned the displays, looking for a flight to Reykjavik. Strange decision. Not exactly a Corinthian hideout. As the passengers began to board, his gaze fell on a figure he hadn't seen in years. A dark coat with the hood drawn low, shoulders stiff but trying to appear relaxed. It just took a moment for the face to tilt towards the light. Jason clenched his jaw. That was him. He'd recognized that jawline, that scar under the chin from anywhere. The big shock, however, was not just seeing the man, but also the passenger next him. Another recognizable silhouette. That was Nina. Back at the hospital, Liesl observed Willow interacting with Michael. To most people they appeared to be the perfect pair. Michael leaned down and kissed her temple, and Willow laughed lightly at what he said. But for Albrecht the laugh was frightening. There was no warmth there. It was hollow and mechanical. Michael didn't seem to notice, preoccupied with his own anguish over Sonny's impending death and the disarray in the Corinthos family. But Liesl noticed everything. She followed Willow cautiously along the corridors. Willow stopped in the staff room to wash her hands, while Liesl waited outside. She heard an unusual muttering, almost like a chant. When Willow appeared, Liesl jumped in. The mirror was somewhat fogged. The faucet was still flowing. And on the mirror, as if etched with a finger, were faint indications of symbols that Albrecht recognized. Dark symbols. Her mother had showed her some of them long ago, during her own twisted experiments. Willow was practicing something that was neither medical nor spiritual. Something ancient. Liesl's heart began to pound, a sensation she had not felt in years. She wiped the mirror clear and looked for anything left behind. The air smelled faintly like jasmine and myrrh. Strange, since Willow never wore perfume. Liesl realized she needed to act. But who would believe her? Who would believe that something sinister had taken root in a lady as seemingly wholesome as Willow Tate? At the airport, Jason texted Spinelli, "Track passenger manifest for flight 473 to Reykjavik. 2 targets. Confirm IDs." He did not have time to wait for the response. He started tailing them from a distance. The man walked with a little limp, but it was noticeable. The woman remained close to his side, whispering quietly. Jason strained to listen. It was not English. The little words he understood sounded like Russian or something older. The man turned slightly, and Jason ducked into a row of vending machines. He didn't think they noticed him. But he wasn't certain anymore. Willow returned to GH and went inside the children's ward to visit Wiley. The little boy grinned brightly, and Willow took him up, whirling him once in a moment so pure that the nurse was nearly tricked. But Albrecht was already waiting outside. She looked through the glass, her fingers clasped around her handbag strap. Then something occurred. Wiley began crying. It was not a tantrum. It was panic. Pure screeching dread. He squirmed in Willow's arms and groped for the door, yelling for Michael. Willow's face tensed briefly. Then she smiled again. But that flash, Liesl saw it. The coldness, the lack of concern, the unsettling quiet. Michael rushed in, grabbing Wiley from Willow's arms. "What happened?" he asked. Willow shrugged and brushed her hair back. "I believe he is overtired." Michael looked perplexed but nodded. "It's been a rough week." Liesl understood right then. The child saw what grown-ups could not. Willow's face was not being worn by a mother. Not anymore. Jason, meanwhile, had followed the 2 travelers to the gate lounge. They sat silently and murmured. Nina leaned back, sunglasses on, but Jason knew she noticed him. She hadn't made eye contact or flinched, but he could see the stiffness in her jaw. Then, before boarding began, the man leaned in and murmured something that caused her to immediately rise. They were leaving the terminal. Jason followed again. They exited through a side hallway, most likely to swap flights at the last minute. Smart. He texted Spinelli again, requesting reroute options. They aren't going to Iceland. Diversionary tactic. The response arrived in seconds. Secondary reservation. Casablanca. Interpol watchlist tag. Jason read it twice. The alias was Victor Tolles. Victor Tolles was dead. He had been executed in a WSB prison 2 years earlier. But now he was back and traveling with Nina Reeves. Liesl requested a favor from someone she rarely contacted. An old colleague in Geneva who researched ancient books on possession, transference, and spiritual imposters. She described the indicators, behaviors, and mirror symbols. He listened silently and then answered quietly, The vessel has already been taken. There is no exorcism for what you have described. Liesel hung up, shaken. That could only imply one thing. Willow Tate was no longer alive, at least in spirit. What remained was her flesh, which reflected her thoughts. And if Michael was blind to it, their children were in greater danger than anyone recognized. That night, Albrecht watched from her apartment window, a glass of red wine trembling in her palm. She couldn't go to the police because they would believe she was insane. She couldn't go to Michael since he was too emotionally involved. She only had one option left. She picked up the phone and dialed Jason. He did not respond immediately, but when he did, his voice was quiet. Albrecht, I need to speak with you. It's about Willow. Jason groaned. I'm a little busy tracking 2 ghosts through Casablanca. I'm telling you, there's a ghost here too, she quipped. And it's wearing Willow's face. Jason paused. Tell me everything. She did. Each symbol. Each whisper. The child is afraid. The fragrance. The way Liesel felt when she was close to her. Jason did not answer for a moment. Then they said, that makes 3. Albrecht inquired. 3 people acting like they're alive when they're not. Albrecht frowned. You do not mean. I do. One of them had just boarded a plane. Another is in Port Charles. And the third. Who? She whispered. Jason's voice was bleak. Drew. Liesel felt her blood become cold. Jason, what is happening? I believe someone is resurrecting the dead, he stated, and replacing the living. She wanted to laugh, calling it silly, but she couldn't. Not after she'd noticed the devil in Willow's smile. Not when her godson's child wailed at being touched by his own mother. Something unholy was happening in Port Charles. And the worst part? It had barely just begun.